everybody! Welcome to ABA Inside Track, the podcast that's like reading in your car, but safer. I'm your host, Robert Perry Cruz, and with me as always are my fabulous co-hosts.
Hi, Rob, it's Jackie. I beat Diana today.
You beat me.
I'm on the game. I'm running on the track.
You win the prize, the podcast
Jackie,
prize.
amazing job being first, saying hi to Rob. Rob, great job introducing the show. It's me, Diana.
Hi, Diana.
Whoa.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your vim and vigor. It is refreshing.
Wow, guys. That was swell.
Jackie, your tone of voice is loud. Remember, we want to stay positive by increasing the frequency of tone by 30 decibels.
What?
I was like the frequency of tone, but you actually meant the frequency.
Wow,
Like
that was,
Frequency.
like this.
hertz decibels.
So I guess a little higher like that.
Hi. Just like that.
What are we talking about, you might say? Well, if you're new to the show, ABA Inside Track is a podcast where we talk about behavior analytic research, and the research of note this whole month, of which this is the third part, is supervision of staff. And pretty much what we'll be talking about today in our third part of our Supervision Book Club will be giving feedback and making work fun. Or I like to call it supervision for fun and profit.
We saved the best for last, guys. Because we get
Yes.
to talk about fun.
Talk about fun at work.
Fun.
Making work fun.
Celebration. Because to be honest, it's the place where you spend most of your time.
It's true.
Right? Like, if you don't like your job, no. Like, you don't like your life. Because really, you spend more time at your job than you do anywhere else.
Yep.
That's right.
And as the supervisor, you have a lot of control, honestly,
That's
over
true.
the lives of the people that work for you. So if you can make their lives more fun and enjoyable while they're at work, by all means,
Yeah.
You should do it.
do so.
I should probably backtrack a little bit, though. So
Sure.
We're assuming that most people who are listening to this enjoyed parts 1 and 2 of our Supervision Book Club, in which we read the...
They're just waiting for the payout.
at the end, that Act 2 cliffhanger. So we read the Supervisor's Guide by Reid, Parsons, and Green, 2012, and we have been kind of going through it in these 3 parts. So we've talked about setting work expectations, we've talked about how to train your staff appropriately, and finally we're going to talk about how to give feedback and overall how to make the workplace a positive location. So if that's all you wanted to hear about, welcome aboard. If you've been enjoying our Supervision Book Club, thanks for rejoining us. If you hated our Supervision Book Club, I don't know why you're still here. You could have stopped this at any time. I appreciate what you were doing, though.
Keep your hands and arms inside the car at all times.
So why don't we just kind of get into this feedback given with a nice discussion of feedback. How, when, where, why, and how.
All the questions.
You've covered all the bases, I think. So I am going to talk a lot today about this topic, which I'm excited for because it's a really important topic, and that is how to give positive feedback to your staff. Promoting appropriate behavior at work with the power of positive reinforcement.
Or really, SRT, SRT, SR. Or no, yeah, SR plus, SR plus, SR plus.
I like it. No, that's scary. You moved into scary territory.
Yeah, I was mimicking Sesame Street and how people learn on Sesame Street.
I was doing the Friday the 13th
I
kind
knew
of
you
thing.
were.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're on different roads right now.
No. But they're both things children can enjoy, so that's what's important.
That's right.
So, Dinah, we talked about feedback a little bit in our last episode when we talked about training, and we talked about giving feedback to individuals so that they could continue to learn to engage in their new skill correctly. And then,
Right. Well, and they kind of start this chapter off by saying, if you've done a good job of following all the previous chapters leading up to this point and spend a lot of time establishing really clear behavior objectives for your staff as far as their work performance goes, and then dedicating the quality time needed to properly train everyone, then you should be in good shape at this point, going into the monitoring and feedback phase of supervision. Everyone should have the tools that they need to do a good job at work. So these chapters really focused on how can we provide positive feedback when things are going well? Because as you guys know, if we don't provide reinforcement for behavior that we want to see continue to maintain, then we're not going to see it maintain. We're going to see a decrease over time. And
But Dana, I pay these people to do their job right. Isn't that reinforcement enough?
No, Rob, it's not.
And be honest, though, the payment is very delayed, right?
Yeah.
So delayed. So getting
I never even
paid-
know when it is payday.
No.
You know.
First of the month.
I just assume I'll get paid.
Right? But
Yeah.
it's so delayed from the actual job specification.
Yeah.
The only time that's not a reinforcer is when you get fired.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. You just sort of assume it's going in there. You know, it's not as though someone like hands you cash in your hand.
Nor is it necessarily
Anyway.
related to my job performance. I could have done.
Right.
Not at
I could have
all.
had a great period.
Good
I could have
point.
had a bad period. I get paid exactly the same.
Hills and valleys. Hills and valleys.
Yep, totally. So that's what you don't want to have happen, is that your staff get burned out on their performance because they haven't received enough more, immediate tangible feedback versus that long-term paycheck. So that's what we don't want to have happen. This book is really dedicated to talking about direct care staff and some of the trials and tribulations that go into their work and supervision of their work. And they make a really good point here that type of work that we're asking folks to do in a direct care position can be really demanding. It can be physically challenging. Sometimes, if people find themselves in that job and that maybe wasn't their long-term intention to be in a role like that for a long time, so they may not have the same buy-in going into it. They may not have a lot of experience with individuals with developmental disabilities. And just like people in any type of job, they may not like being told what to do. Right? So all of those are factors that we need to be considering when we're working with direct care staff. It is a really demanding position, and we want to make sure that we're providing a lot of positive reinforcement so that people can stay invested in those jobs once we have clearly defined what those jobs are. Staff retention is an important point too. It can be hard to train people and maintain them in these positions. And if you find yourself in that situation where you're needing to, always replace staff, train them up, monitor their initial performance, then you know how time consuming that process is. So it makes sense to put a lot of time and effort into staff retention if you can, so you don't get into that cycle of needing to replace people all the time. So one way that you can provide positive reinforcement for folks is to start out by providing positive, supportive feedback to them. Not in a situation where they've done something that needs critical feedback, but just check-in times to promote behavior that you want to see from them. So we talked a little bit about this in the last supervision episode where we walked through how to provide, and negative feedback sounds bad, but
Corrective feedback.
Yeah, I think that was probably the word to use. Thanks for that corrective feedback, Rob. So we already kind of reviewed some of these steps, but I'll go over them again so everyone can hear. So this is the evidence-based protocol for providing feedback that's laid out in the book. And there are 7 important steps. So the first step is a positive or empathetic statement. The next step is to
You look tired.
Hey now, what are you trying to say? You've gotten off on the wrong foot, Buster. Step 2 is to specify what behavior the staff have performed correctly. So that's the one that, for our positive example, that's probably what we'll be focusing on. Step 3 is to specify what behavior staff have performed incorrectly, if applicable.
So don't find
Don't
something
search.
to nitpick
No,
on.
don't go fishing for something
Your
if you don't
socks
have anything.
don't match.
Right? You don't have to be that specific. If it's just a positive meeting, then you can skip step 3 entirely. You can also skip step 4 if you don't have a step 3, because step 4 is to specify what is needed to correct number 3. Right? Okay. Step 5 is to solicit questions, right? So make sure that it's a really back and forth type of conversation, not just I'm telling you things, but give the other person a chance to talk. Step 6 is to inform the staff if there are subsequent supportive actions that need to occur. And then step 7 is, again, the positive and empathetic statement.
Now, sorry, Jack, go ahead.
I disagree with that. I usually just end with the empathetic.
This was great.
Right?
Thanks so much.
I never end with the positive. Like, you did this great. Here's your problem. Now this is what you did great. I never do the compliment sandwich. Remember we had this
Well,
long
we talked about it
discussion?
last time as kind of the compliment or the shit sandwich of feedback.
You swore.
And I did it last time too, and I didn't cut it out. I think when you're looking at feedback, sometimes, and the book doesn't get into this component of it, but I remember it from some of like the 8-hour supervision trainings I did to be a supervisor, BCBA, in the type of feedback you want to give. So are you giving feedback as a component of your new skill training package, in which case I tend to try to focus on corrective feedback. I try to be upfront with staff. I'm doing corrective feedback for the sole purpose of trying to make sure you're doing this as correctly as possible, as quickly as possible. And then I look for moments as quickly as I can to tell them all the great things they're doing.
I love that.
We talked about the ratio of positive to corrective feedback that I think recently I've seen it as high as 8-to-1. So you want to say, 8 positive things to every 1 corrective thing. I think this feedback model is more when you're doing your performance monitoring. So you're coming back, hey, it was great doing that training with you. It's great knowing you know how to do all these things. I'm here to watch your task analyses today. And your focus is on what they're doing right. And you're only going to focus on one corrective skill because it's hard to think of more than one corrective skill. And then you're typically going to end with just something positive and sort of letting them know what the supervision process looks like. I see that as just generally like letting people know, this is what supervision is. I'm going to always be watching you because I want you to do a good job and I want to make sure I'm helping you any way I can. So I might come back tomorrow because I want to make sure you feel comfortable with this new skill, or later because they did a great job.
Okay. So it's not like compliment, critical thing, compliment.
You look tired. You didn't do a good job. I know you want to do a good job.
You look tired.
Tomorrow.
That was your compliment.
That's my empathetic statement.
That's great.
They look really tired. I'm worried. Are you high right now? You're legally required to tell me.
You're off track.
That's not how it goes?
No, so that's not how I was interpreting
now.
the positive empathetic statement. Because you have to get yourself into and out of a conversation, right? So you're naturally going to start off with something like relatively friendly, and end with something relatively friendly, no matter what. I would think it doesn't have to be related to their performance. It could just be thanks for coming, or I know you're busy.
Well, just like any observation, you end by saying goodbye.
I'm so glad that we made that point clear though, because I feel like so many times when I'm supervising supervisors, you hear you did a really great job providing reinforcement specific on the response. You blew out the error correction procedure. Let's talk about
I swore.
And then, but you're a really great person.
Love, Jackie.
I like you as a friend.
Right? So I think that it's good to know that it's not, usually that last one isn't on their performance. It's
It's
just
point.
about general, like, we're not going to be like, you suck, bye, like, later.
Yeah, right. You have to end it somehow. Or you're going to talk about, something that's upcoming, that's exciting.
Yeah.
You guys are going to be participating in together. Yeah, you have to exit conversations. One of my least favorite activities. So.
Me too, but for a completely different
That's
reason.
right, exactly. We're opposites.
The component that they don't talk as much about in this chapter on giving feedback, though, is you should be basing your observation. If it's an informal observation, you're just there to see good things. If something comes up that you're like, I got to give corrective feedback, this was so terrible, you probably want to schedule an actual formal observation. If you're specifically there, hey, I'm just here to see how you're doing with this the new feeding program, it's so easy to give positive feedback because you have a list that you gave to the staff and you told them, this is what I'm always looking for. So you can specifically just go down the list of, I loved how you used the extinction procedure. I loved how you praised the student when they were eating. I loved how you set up the environment. You have the list in front of you, so you can just knock it right off. These are the things you were doing right, and if there was one there that they weren't doing, that's the only one you have to talk about in terms of feedback.
That's the best take-home message, I think, from last week too, because you know what you're looking for, right? They know what you're looking for. Right. You know what you're looking for. It reduces anxiety for everyone, and then you don't have to be like, well, I saw this other rando thing.
You didn't read my mind.
Yeah. So I love that. I think that's a really good reminder. And I frequently have found myself thinking that I want to provide corrective feedback in these informal settings where I shouldn't be.
I hate when I do that.
Yeah.
When I'm saying all these great things and then I say some total non sequitur. By the way, I noticed that your postings on the Cubby aren't the way they want them to be. You know what? That is not the time to do it.
No, it's not.
Just randomly showed up. I saw a lot of good things. If there's something I want to fix, come back and do, I'm going to do the formal cubby check in a week. Do it then. Don't bring it up in the middle of your positive statements when you didn't, unless you specifically came to look at the cubby setup. Then you would give as part of corrective feedback. But if you're not there and no one's getting hurt and nothing bad is happening, you can really focus on the positive feedback.
I agree.
And then you become, as they talk about in this chapter, you become a force of, oh, look, it's Rob, Diana, or Jackie. I like to see them because they are mostly fun and say lots of things. And then when they tell me things I'm doing wrong, I know they're doing it because they want me to be better, which is the point of supervision. You want your staff to do a good job for multiple reasons, both because it helps you in your ability to serve your consumers and also because it helps them become better people and you're building, real capacity in your organization.
Totes.
I think we can just end right there.
Yeah.
That was
I'm going to edit that.
It's a wrap.
I'm going to edit that, put that at the end. Rewind.
Okay. Another point that they made was that feedback is a unique skill that supervisors must practice.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So I'm not going to lie, in my formal self, and maybe now sometimes, am horrible at giving feedback. Basically, I'm horrible at storytelling, when things need to be direct. I am bad at all of those things. I'm like a ring around. See, I'm doing it right now. And so this is something that I've had to think about, write down. Usually I write down all of the feedback I want to give to someone so I can reread it because most of the time I'm like, that does not make sense.
Yeah.
So if I would have just said that out loud, they would have been like, nice job doing that thing that you do. Not helpful, right?
Right, exactly.
No.
Yeah.
You need to improve it by doing it better.
Right?
Anyway.
Yeah.
Love
so
the tie.
I knew that that's something the skill that I am not good at, remembering words in the moment. And so I usually bring my laptop and I say, I'm going to write out all of the feedback that I have for you and then I'm going to send it to you in an email afterwards because I can't give you in the moment feedback.
Useful. We're going to talk about that.
Oh, good.
Coming up. Yeah. I really like that we get supervision CEs now for this reason. Because it's not as though, you passed the BACB exam and now you know how to supervise staff working in direct care situations. You don't.
Nope.
That's not on there.
I was never taught to lead anybody. I watched a lot of TV shows with, leader figures, and I figured you either just did it or you didn't. You were either Captain Picard or you were Mr. Riker. You didn't learn it. You had to just be it.
You think Riker was a leader?
He wasn't as good a leader. That's why he was the first officer. He had to lead the away teams. He had the list of what to do in an away team
situation. He played a mean
situation.
French horn.
He played the trombone. Oh, you got me! Oh, no! I mean, what? What show are you talking about?
You guys are so best friends.
I know, right? Okay. I don't know what we were talking about before that, so I'm just going to move on.
Supervision is a skill, just like feedback's a skill.
Yes. So I think that is great that we are now going to ensure that everyone gets practice in giving supervision because it's something that we all need to practice.
Yes.
Yes. There are some difficulties in giving supervision. One of the things that they pointed out was that you could be younger than the person that you're providing feedback to, which could be a little challenging. So they said the most important point there is if you are in that situation is to just keep going back to their number 2 bullet point, which was to specifically state what it was that you're giving feedback on. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was good. And if for any reason, if your staff becomes defensive when receiving feedback, and this can happen in a positive situation too, where you could have someone who's very self-deprecating and just won't accept hearing that they have done a good job and is always trying to deflect it away, do the same thing. Just keep reiterating that the behavior that you saw that you want to reinforce. So I thought those were good. A point they made, feedback must be sincere.
Yeah. I agree.
You can't sound like a sarcastic little thing.
Or you're busy. Like, I have to give you feedback because I'm pretty sure I read it somewhere, but I don't really want to. So I'll just sort of say some stuff and then get out of here.
Yeah. Some of your staff you may not spend that much time with. And so those moments of one-to-one supervision or feedback can be really, really meaningful and can actually carry a lot of weight, even if it's only for a few minutes at a time. So remembering that always and being really sincere and giving that person your full attention and time is really critical.
I think staff pick up very well on whether you are there as a supervisor because you want to help them, because you care about the people you serve, you care about the staff you work with, you care about your organization. And I think it comes through in a very, if you have that genuine sincerity, it really comes through. And I think it does get you through a lot of those weird, I got to give you feedback that's corrective, and I'm uncomfortable because we don't have a great relationship. But as long as I'm clearly doing it for the betterment of everyone involved and I have a clear list, you can get through so many situations that would otherwise just be awkward and really untenable, especially if you're, I just got out of school, I'm 26, and this is my first job, and I really don't know what I'm doing very well, but I have to tell this person that they've done something wrong. It's not an easy situation to be in because it's very simple to just look like a pain in the butt that no one wants to listen to.
Yeah. But it's not a relationship between you and that other person only. It's related to the entire organization and the protocols that you need to uphold as part of that organization. So always referring it back to all of the things that you have written down prior to this meeting is going to help you tremendously. They also talked about you need to be sensitive to the staff's response, right? So this protocol is a good guideline, but it's not going to give you all of the ins and outs. If your staff is responding in a way that you need to be attentive to, then you need to change course and address if they're becoming defensive or having a harder time with the feedback, then you can stop and address that appropriately. And then certainly if you need to deliver feedback according to this protocol, even if it's positive, it should be done privately. So this is not the whole thing I laid out here where it's all the 7 steps. That's not to be done in the middle of an observation like you were saying, Rob. It's supposed to be when you have time, you schedule a meeting, you sit down and you actually take the time to do it properly without other people around. Because even if it's positive feedback, sometimes people don't want others to hear that. They get embarrassed or sensitive about that too. So you have to be mindful of that as well. Phew. Good?
It's a lot about feedback. So, Donna, the book goes into so many different ways to deliver feedback or activities around feedback, variations on feedback.
It does.
I know, just in the interest of time, we don't need to exhaustively look at all of them, but could you kind of run down some of the suggestions and ideas?
So you can provide feedback in this type of one-on-one meeting, but you could do it in a number of other ways. One of those is informal feedback, which is just quickly, oh, hey, we're here, getting coffee. I wanted to mention 1 or 2 things to you while no one else is around. You can also deliver written feedback. This could be done using a feedback form. That's super helpful because it can provide a permanent product, which could be used for annual evaluations down the road. You can email it to someone. So if you don't get a chance to meet with them face-to-face, you still are able to give them that feedback that they might need. It's great to combine vocal and written feedback together. However, they said if the only time you're giving written feedback is during that annual evaluation and you really haven't spent any time giving other feedback to that person during that year, then it is too little too late. Mm-hmm. You really should have made contact with them sooner than that. They also talked a little bit about individual versus group feedback. Group feedback can be very efficient. However, you always have those outliers in a group, right? So if you're like, everyone did a great job submitting their TPS reports, well, then that one person that didn't do it gets the positive reinforcement even though they didn't complete the task. So you could be sort of undermining your efforts by doing that. So if you're going to give group feedback, make sure that everyone in the group meets the criteria and the contingency.
And everyone in the group already knows who are the people that didn't really do a good job and they just are coasting.
They also talked a little bit about public posting. We talk about that sometimes on our podcast. Yeah.
We have an episode coming up. We'll be talking about public posting.
Yeah, man. So positive feedback, public posting is okay if it's just going to be positive. However, you wouldn't want to put something up that sort of outs someone in a public forum in that regard. Also because you don't know how others in the group are going to respond to that. So by putting all that information out there, you sort of leave it to the wolves, so to speak, as far as someone might be getting additional praise that they didn't want to get or potential criticism from their peers that they didn't want to get. So you're opening up a big can of worms by doing that in most situations. They talked a little bit about immediate versus delayed feedback. Immediate is best. However, if you cannot give it immediately, give it delayed because it can still be effective. And sometimes if you delay it and then make it like a special thing, then that can be even more reinforcing. Yeah.
I like the example they gave about having calling a staff into the office when they get to work And I know if that happened to me, I'd feel just like I would feel if I was getting pulled over by a cop, that sinking dread
They're
feeling.
They're not pulling
like,
you over to tell you what a good citizen you are.
Right?
You really been following the speed limit.
Like, oh man, it's going to be so much money. And then they're like, I want you to know that you're doing a great job here, and I really appreciate this, and this. That would, like, blow my socks off.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Would.
I think I would feel like the added stress of it would make it not worth it. But that's why you and I are different.
Right. And so we would, if someone was supervising us, then they would have to ask us what we like best.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Although, could we accurately report that?
Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe not.
Well, I think the bigger problem there, Jackie, is the sense that when do we get called into people's offices?
When we're getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
We have this long history where we worked in so many places where nobody wants to call you in and say, great job. Most of the time you have cues. I'm in trouble. I'm going to get in trouble for this. Because a lot of this effort hasn't been underway necessarily. And most places don't spend as much time as they should on positive feedback. I mean, if you enter your workspace saying, I'm so excited to find all the great things people are doing, and maybe I'll have to help some people improve a little bit today, and you do this on a regular basis, you're going to solve so many problems long-term, problems you didn't even know existed until someone mentioned, like, hey, when you called me in, I was terrified. You might not even have thought, oh, yeah, you're right. Why wouldn't you be terrified? Because why the hell would I ever have called you in except to yell at you and make you feel bad?
I bet you'd be a way more positive staff member, too, if you're like, I'm going to find all of the great things that you're doing every day, and I may need to help one or two people, versus, man, I can't wait to walk into this crap show where everyone's doing bad things. Right? Like,
yeah.
People are probably going to want to work with you more, too.
You got to find things to be positive about.
Yeah.
And especially when, we're in the business of training. We train, we train students to learn new skills. We train adults and staff to do new skills. And we need to focus on, well, if things aren't going well, that's just more opportunities for us to help people do more and learn new things. And that can be challenging. But more often than not, it's relatively simple to teach some new skills. So start there. And then you've got a base of positive things. And you're setting yourself up as really a force of change, a positive change.
Yeah, it's all learning, it's all behavior, no matter who the learner is, right? So we have the opportunity to teach multiple groups often in our jobs. We might be teaching the clients that we work with, we might be teaching the parents that we work with, or we might be teaching the staff that we work with. So there's never a shortage of opportunity to be making lesson plans and then to be following through with them.
Right.
Exactly. And if you follow the training steps from part 2, you are already set up very nicely to be in a situation where you can be focusing on all this great feedback. All right. Well, why don't we take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about making work an oh-so-fun place to be. Hooray! We'll be right back.
Hey, ABA Inside Trackers. Are you interested in being a behavior analyst and you're not yet? If so, I really would recommend looking into the Regis College Masters in Science and Applied Behavior Analysis program. Our 2016 pass rates for first-time test takers of the BCBA exam was 90%. We think this is a true testament to our program. In addition, we're going to be starting an on-campus autism center in the summer of 2017. This is going to allow our graduate students on-hands learning right at our college, and you will receive partial tuition remission if you work at the center, which is pretty amazing. We also offer paid clinical placements and graduate assistantships starting in our students' first year, where all of our grad students are working in the field either part-time or full-time. I find you that job. That is part of my job. We also are approved by the BACB to provide intensive practicum, so students will complete 750 hours of an intensive practicum across their time at Regis. All of our faculty are PhD-level BCBAs with strong applied and research backgrounds in ABA, and all have published papers in respected peer-reviewed journals. We ensure small class sizes so that all students receive personalized attention from their professors and advisors, are easily accessible to meet with students. 2 more really great things that I want to highlight about the Regis program is that we host an invited lecture series at Regis each year, which involves inviting outside experts in ABA to speak on specialized topics relating to practicing ABA. Last summer, we completed an international service trip to Iceland. This trip enabled students to learn more about providing culturally competent care to diverse populations. Students and alums work with children diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder and provided parent and teacher trainings for 11 days. This service trip occurs every other year, and the next trip will be in the summer of 2018. And finally, we have a great location. We're just 12 miles from the center of Boston. We currently have rolling admission. We're accepting students until we reach capacity for the fall of 2017. Please check us out at www.regiscollege.edu.
All right, and we are back talking about awesome supervision and feedback. And we're going to talk even more about how you can make your workspace an awesome fun space. An awesome fun space. That
First
sounds
step
scary.
is to rename it Awesome Fun
The awesome
Space.
fun. Ooh, super fun happy space.
Yes, so if you're used to call it the office, don't do that anymore. Call it Awesome Fun Space. Be like, hey, everyone, you coming to Awesome Fun Space tomorrow?
Call it the Foffice. It's so fun.
Oh my gosh, I love
Then
that.
and only then will your staff come to work.
I am going to do that at our job. Diane and I work together now.
Yeah.
So on our office doors, I'm going to be like, welcome to Office Fun Space.
That would
Awesome
actually
fun
be
space.
great.
Oh my gosh.
Can
I'm
you
doing it.
fill your office up with balls? Like a
Like a ball
Yeah.
pit?
like a ball pit?
Yep.
That would be really reinforcing for me.
Okay, done.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Step 1. Rename your office.
Step 1, done.
Awesome fun space.
Moving on. This chapter is called Special Recognition Procedures, which they further defined as formal and informal ways to support quality work performance and enjoyment.
Ooh.
Yeah. This book takes a lot of care in operationally defining everything, which is what they're talking about the whole time. So, like, they really practice what they preach here.
Yeah. One
Which I
thing
appreciate.
I noticed one of these special recognition procedures today, actually.
Oh, yeah?
I went to the grocery store.
Mhm.
Shocking, I know.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more.
And they had an Employee of the Month parking space right in the front. The first
Nice.
where everybody wants to park. And it
That's
was like, do
nice.
not park here. This is for Employee of the Month parking only.
That's a
and there
good
was only one.
reinforcer.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's in there as one of the special procedures.
It is.
The,
Yeah.
the lottery. Or,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you guys about some of those. But first, I wanted to ask you, in all your years working as workers, did you have anything that stood out to you as a super special recognition that you experienced at your work?
how I was, when I was recognized in a special
Or not,
way?
maybe not you, but like that your workplace did that you remember.
But for me.
Maybe you
Like-
didn't win it. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
really know how exceptional you were, but
I got Employee of the Month once,
Me too.
and that was
it's a
great.
major award.
Did you?
Yeah.
Good. We all got it.
Yay! But it was one of those awards that a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's so stupid," or like, "Oh, everyone gets those." But I really liked when I got Employee of the Month. I felt very recognized for something, and my supervisor told me exactly what it was they nominated me for, and it made me feel real
important.
good. I got a
Specific
certificate
praise.
and everything.
One time, this is completely individualized to me, but one time my supervisor made me a candy house of all of my favorite candies
Aw.
because I was saying that I hated where I was living. And so then they, I'm a candy junkie. If you don't know this already about me, I'm eating it right now.
She is.
Pez. They're not even my favorite, but they're just available. And so my supervisor, her name was Kara, she made me a candy house when
Aw.
I had like a particularly
Like a
rough.
life-size one?
No,
or
like a
gingerbread house?
Yeah, like a gingerbread house, but made of all of my favorite candy.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. It was
No one ever made
amazing.
me a candy house.
Yeah. And she's like, thanks for doing that IEP. You did a really nice job. I'm very proud of you. Here's a candy house. And I was like, what? And I think
Did you eat it like a Cookie Monster?
I think probably. Yeah, probably. And I did. I remember it didn't even make it home. Like I'd eaten the whole thing by the time I got home. I lived very close to where I worked.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
I never knew that about you.
Yeah, it was in 2005.
That's really sweet.
Long time ago.
Yeah, but I still remember it. And if you're listening, Kara, thank you for that candy heart.
I think my favorite, thanks for asking, guys. I think my favorite remains Staff Appreciation Week. Mm-hmm. Because they had a lot of free food, which I do enjoy.
Oh, I do like that.
But the best part was the notes from the parents. Mm-hmm. So they would solicit notes from parents and then put them up so everyone could read them. And it didn't even matter if they were addressed to me or not. I just read them all and like usually cried because, I don't know, I find that really, really reinforcing.
Yeah.
I had a parent buy me a shirt once before they changed the ethics code to say I'm not allowed to accept gifts, so it's all above board. But that really meant a lot because I was really young and just like, I got a shirt. Like, wow. Like, that was just nice. What a nice, thoughtful thing.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if I got a shirt, I'd have to return it.
You'd have to give it to them. You had to give it back to them.
Yeah, yes, I'd return it.
That's what he meant.
No, I meant return it for store credit, right? That's still within the ethical guidelines?
Right.
No. Let's see. How did that fall into these categories? Rob, you said Employee of the Month. That was a special recognition award. Jackie, you said Candy House. Turns out that's not on the list.
It's an award of some kind.
That's a special recognition action, I think.
Yes.
Yeah?
It's just very individualized.
Very, very individualized.
And then mine falls into the category of staff recognition events. Right? So they highlighted several different categories, and I wanted to see if we highlighted the same ones, which we did. We passed the test, you guys.
Hooray.
Nice job. So there's a lot of different ways you can build in these special recognition opportunities into your workplace. You don't want to overdo it, right? Because then the reinforcement's not meaningful. But there are definitely times you can build these in. And some of the categories that they mentioned are special recognition awards. So those could be like a certificate or a plaque, something that's more ceremonial. It is good to still have it be based on specific work objectives so that it's clear to everyone who gets it and why they got it. Peer awards. So peers could vote on something or someone that they want to recognize, which is a nice way to do that. We didn't talk about that one. The danger there is it can be a popularity contest. So you could have people nominating someone just because they like them versus them really being the most qualified.
We would do that. One of my old jobs, we would have a component of one of our events was everyone would get an award, and we would have the staff could vote like among their different schools that were part of our event. They would vote on, who got the best this and the best that. And there were a few times when I was asked, like, is there a way we could make this person not win the award because they don't deserve it? Everyone felt bad for them, or everyone likes them, but they're terrible at their job. And I was really torn because I was like, I understand your point, but let's just say these are all positive. These are just chances for us to serve as reinforcers. Just think of it that way. Don't think of it as feedback quite the same way.
Right. Yes. Yeah, so it definitely runs that danger. They mentioned formal staff recognition events like a staff appreciation day or week. Taco trucks. Those are good. Bring over a taco truck. No one is going to be upset about that.
That's true.
Right?
At one place I used to work at, they had a Reiki master do.
Oh, is that where they like work on your chakras and stuff?
Yeah, your auras, your energy fields or whatever. And it's like, and it was free, and it was a half hour. So I was like, I'm going to do this. So I go in, and she's like, Reiki, it's going to be great for you. And I was like, like, where's the bed? And I napped for a half hour. She's like, you were out. You must have been very relaxed. And I was like, oh, yeah.
It worked.
I was. Because I was tired, and I recognized that I was going to nap.
Right? So there you go. Being able to nap at work for one day out of the year.
Yeah.
That was a reinforcer.
It certainly was.
Nice. So these like big events, they can be expensive on the part of the organization to provide. So you have to keep that in mind. They also tend to have initial impact, but not long-term changes in performance, right? They're just a nice thing to do for folks, and people do appreciate it, but you may not get long-term gains. So you should only do them periodically.
Yep.
They also mentioned performance lotteries. So this is a cool idea, and I have done this in the past. You may have something that's a regularly occurring activity that it's part of folks' job they're expected to do it basically, but it would still be nice to ensure that that performance is being maintained.
Mm-hmm.
So every time the activity is completed, they could earn a little ticket, and then every week or 2 weeks you could pull tickets from the big bin of tickets and then give a few people a reinforcer. So that is a good way to save money. It can work as long as you don't have the schedule of reinforcement so thin that people's names never get drawn. Because
you have to be aware of it too. I know I've worked in places that have done this, and I feel like, have you gotten a ticket? No. Have you gotten a ticket? No. No one's gotten a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those situations of, well, maybe they've never seen us doing this, but we've got to have done one of these things at least once that they would have noticed. I like this for when you're working on a new skill in like a classroom or a setting, like everyone's practicing discrete trial training, and you're very clearly looking for those skills to occur, so you can really be focused and you can give a lot of praise, and then you can have a lot of chances for the lottery tickets to pop up, and I think it raises its profile in the space.
Cool. Yeah, I think it works better if there are clear guidelines on the part of the supervisors to provide the tickets versus just every time people do something good, you should give them a ticket. It'll never happen. But if there's something clear that you can really easily determine, did everyone do this or not do this, or who did it, and then you can assign them. Even like, did you do your time card? Like things like that it's just nice to make sure that those behaviors are maintained. Yeah.
The book mentions sometimes this one backfires though, because some people feel like it's condescending to put them in a reinforcement system like maybe the students have.
Mm-hmm. You need to have really good reinforcers in there.
A new car.
They mentioned the parking spot as a good one, because that's free. This parking spot is already there. Just make a new spot.
Yeah, great.
I would definitely take that at my current place of employment.
Covering for staff on shift, so let them have an extra lunchtime.
I use that one when I was trying to get everyone in a classroom to get proficient with manding. I said, if everyone can get 90% or higher on our checklist across the classroom, I will personally go on shift for all of you for 30 minutes. And it was great because I wanted to do it anyway, because the longer you're in the field, the less you actually ever work with children and students, so it's nice to actually get to do it sometimes. And it also built a lot of good rapport with the staff, because then they got to see me doing the work. And I think most of them knew I could still do the job, but it's nice when the people who you supervise see, look at me, I can still do this.
He's not just a big bag of air.
I'm like, I read a book, and let me give you feedback from it. I don't think we mentioned it in the feedback chapter, but if you give people feedback, you better know what the hell you're talking about and be able to implement. No, we did say that,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But you have to be able to implement. We talked about sincerity, but I don't know if we specified, you also need to be able to live the feedback yourself. Like, the way you're running that trial is very bad. If you can't run that trial yourself, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't give that feedback.
Great. Do you guys have other examples you want to bring up of good staff reinforcement systems that you've tried?
I do.
Okay.
I have one. And I challenge you all, listeners, to top this one.
Oh, no.
Remember that?
Blow your minds.
Remember that movie from the 80s, Teen Witch, when it was like, top that. Top that.
I never saw this movie, but I've heard of this. I know that you're referencing.
Okay.
Nice.
Thanks.
It's no Hug-a-Bunch movie. But
I always want to sing that song, and I'm singing it in my head quite frequently. And I just wanted to sing it out loud for a minute.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Top that.
Top
reference.
That. I don't really give a about that. Top that. Top that. Okay, go ahead.
So I used to do like a little award ceremony every year for my classrooms. And then when I was in a position where I had multiple classrooms I supervised, I said, let's just make it a big thing. And we took a PD day and we did...
Which is professional development.
Professional development day. At the end of the year when no one really wanted to do any more professional development, and we did the FBAs, and they were the Fabulous Behavior Awards, and it was like a big thing. And we did peer awards, we did supervisor awards for the classroom teachers, we played Jeopardy. And the first year I did it was sort of just, we did like a slideshow with like the pictures of all the students, and everyone always enjoys a good slideshow. I made awards. The trick to making awards, folks, is you can do it cheaply, is you go to like Party City or iParty, one of those cheap party places, and you get some like silly award. And then you think of, what would I name this award? And then what would that link to in terms of the skills that I expect the staff to engage in? So you find a pack of goofy giant sunglasses, and you're like, it's the cool book award, and it's for the person who has the best program book in the classroom. So you kind of work backwards, and that way you've always got something that's really stupid and also very cheap. But I find it amusing, and I think everyone has enjoyed the stupidity of some of these awards. Like, it's gum. Like, oh, you stuck to your student and never lost them.
Wow, that is good.
Yeah, right.
I like it.
And the first year we just did that, and then the second year I wanted to go even bigger, because you gotta go bigger every year. So I did a song and dance number for the whole group. I used a song from the Muppets, and I wrote my own lyrics related to reinforcement and the fact that we were at an award show.
Wait, can we get a video of that and upload it?
Somebody had video of it. I don't know where it is, though, because the person who was supposed to be videotaping it did not turn the camera on. It was very annoying. They were summarily fired for unrelated reasons, but I pretend it's because they didn't film a damn song and dance number. But anyway, people still mention that. And again, usually when you do something fun for your staff, you probably are having a good time. So, because P.S., I do a podcast every week for folks. So I probably do enjoy getting up and singing song and dance about behavior analysis. So
we know this.
So yeah. So, find the thing you like to do and then share it with the people you work with as part of this big event is my take home. So yeah, top that.
That's pretty awesome.
I can't, actually.
I don't think you can get more invested in your staff than providing them with that level of award intensity of award show. So just that in and of itself, I think, is a reinforcer. Just showing everyone how much time and effort and care you put in to them.
It took a long time. It was a very long process, but I loved it. I loved doing it. It was fun for me. I liked. I think my staff had a fun time with it. You always hope that everyone's not like, I hate this being here. I'd rather be home than being at whatever this event is. But, you try to make it fun for everybody, and you try to, share how much you appreciate the people you work with.
That's awesome. If you listeners out there have any great things like this that you've done, please let us know.
If you somehow taped my song and dance, please send that to me too. I appreciate it.
That actually is one way that you can make your job environment more fun. Right? So that's what I'm going to talk about.
Exactly.
Today.
Go for it.
Sure is.
Talk about it.
Talking about promoting staff enjoyment, making disliked work tasks more enjoyable to perform.
Well, you know what I like the most?
Chapter 9.
Fun things, Jaggy? I like continuing education.
Me too.
And the people listening to the show might also like continuing education and be wondering, where are those secret code words? Because I want to purchase continuing education credits from this ACE-approved podcast, ABA Inside Track. So, if you're wondering where they are, it's because I forgot about them until Diana pointed at them. So here's the first secret code word. The first one is newt, N-E-W-T. Newt, like the lizard. Reptile. That's the more
If you read a lot of children's books, you'll know about a newt because N is for newt, always.
N is for newt. Or like
newt,
an Aliens.
Or Nightingale. That's the only
newt.
two choices.
Or Newt Gingrich.
Him too. He's in fewer children's books.
I don't know what children's books you're reading.
Newt.
All right. So, we all have a job right now. Way to go, us.
True.
And there are tasks, part of our job, that we don't like doing. Right?
True.
And sometimes you can't get rid of the jobs that you don't like doing as part of your job. So, unfortunately, you still have to do those tasks, right? But, this chapter really goes into how you can make doing those tasks less...
I'm trying to eat silently. It's hard.
Oh, I thought you were laughing at me because my sunburn itches so bad.
I'm
trying to muffle the...
He was like this. He was like...
I'm trying to muffle the sound of eating these M&Ms.
Well, why not eat some M&Ms and then I will start.
It's so hot in here.
It's pretty hot.
Sure.
I really want to take my pants off, but I was really not going to put up with it, so I won't. But just so you know, I should have worn shorts.
I know. I was like, wow, jeans. It's like real pants. Oh.
Okay.
So itchy.
We're almost there.
Okay. Yeah, we're almost done.
Okay.
I bet you can.
I can whip
keep
this out.
Short and sweet.
Hold on.
My back's like on fire. That was a bad idea.
Your back is on fire.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
But if I was going to do that, I would do the, your back is on fire. Same song, different chord.
Nice.
Yeah, Rob. Yeah. Okay. So we all know as part of our job, we have to do things we don't like doing, unfortunately, right? Mm-hmm. But as supervisors, we want to make those horrible tasks less horrible, even though we have to do them. The one thing we always have to remember is that what comes first is really that we're providing the highest quality of programming for our clients that we can. So if it's a sucky thing you have to do, you're gonna have to do it. You can't just be like, oh, we won't do this sucky thing anymore because you don't like it, but then it's gonna decrease the quality of care for our clients. So no. They go hand in hand, but client preference and client priority goes first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think the main reason that people don't like some work task is that they don't know how to do them or they don't feel confident or proficient in that task. How many of that has that happened to you guys before?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think secretly everything I hate doing is because I feel like I can't do it and I'm scared someone's going to know I can't do it and I also don't want to bother to learn to do it. So it's a big culmination of all negative things.
Yes. Yeah. So the one thing as supervisors that we can do is make sure that all of the tasks that we require our supervisors to engage in are outlined and that we've trained them sufficiently. So with new supervisees, we want to make sure that we're giving them all of the training that they need to competently perform the job. So I know a lot of the times in our field, the first day of the job, you're actually just thrown in and you're like, good luck. That happens a bunch. I myself have done that to other people. And, we should really be thinking about they're going to like their job more if they feel like they know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And outline their roles and responsibilities very clearly. Mm-hmm. Another thing that we want to make sure that we are doing is all of the tasks that staff have to do, make sure that they're all needed. I know that when I was a direct care provider, I would be continuously filling out ABC data sheets. Like continuously. Right. Like for the whole time. And then I would never see the results of those ABC data sheets. And one time I even found them in the recycling bin, which made me so mad.
Ouch.
Right? I spent so much time. And they weren't even like the check mark ones. They were the narrative.
Oh, God.
And I narrated it crazy. I was like, and this very specific. I was like, we're going to get to the bottom of this. And they were in the recycling bin. So if you have tasks that staff do not have to do, if you're not going to look at those ABC data sheets, don't make people do them. So minimize the tasks. Only do the things that are necessary. If it's a task that staff hate, maybe they hate it because it's not required. It's not benefiting them. Maybe it's one of those outdated tasks that they used to have to do, but now you have a computer. You don't have to do those anymore. So make sure that you're looking at all the tasks and taking out the ones that you don't actually have to do. Yep. Do you have any examples of that in your life at work?
We had a whole episode about data collection, just how much data
right,
yeah.
we would take.
What kind of squirrels were there? There was a squirrel.
The data squirrel,
yeah.
And the data hero is what you want to be. But the squirrel is you collect all your data for the winter and then you hide it away somewhere.
Right?
In case you need it someday.
That was good. That was really good. Thanks, Amanda.
Amanda Karsten.
Yeah, and so we want to think about that first. We want to make sure that all of the tasks that our staff are engaged in are necessary. We're following through with those tasks, and we want to make sure that the supervisees know what they're doing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And giving that rationale.
Yes, absolutely.
Or why do these need to be done can also help.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we have all of that, and if we've done that and people still have tasks that they're like really grumbly about, what this book prescribes is the Task Enjoyment Motivation Protocol, or TEMP.
They have so many protocols.
I know,
in this
right?
book. I do love it. They made it so easy to remember what you're doing. How do you get feedback? Well, follow these 7 steps, 6 steps. 7 steps.
7. So we could really just print all these protocols out, put them in a book, and we're done. We're good to go as long as we're following them. So the first step in the TEMP protocol is to meet with the staff and solicit their opinions about specific aspects of the job that make it undesirable to perform. Mm-hmm. So that maybe that could be in a group setting or it could be individual. And remember, you're going to get a lot here. If you ask someone for things they don't like, they're going to tell you.
Be prepared for feedback.
Yeah.
Because you will get it.
Right.
You can do that at any time, but for those of you, if you're starting a new job, it's actually probably one of the early things you want to do is make kind of is referred to as an entry plan. So spend some of the time where you're learning the ropes, meeting with individuals who you supervise to ask them questions like, what are some aspects of the job that you think could be improved or make it hard to come to work every day? It's a good time to. You can do it any time, but that is an ideal time.
Yeah. So step 2, in conjunction with step 1, we're going to ask about ideas on how you can make those tasks more enjoyable to perform. So if someone had asked me, what don't you like about your data collection procedures? I'd say, hey, I take all this ABC data every single day and you don't do anything with it. I'd say it'd be really cool if you made a chart with it so I could see it and we could do something about it. And they'd be like,
or we could all agree that it's useless and we don't need to do it.
Yeah, one or the other. Step 3, make as many of the changes identified as realistic. Supplemented where possible with the supervisor's idea for making the task more enjoyable. So you are not going to be able to change everything, right? So start with the worst one first and work your way down, right? Just make some steps. If everyone hates a million things at your job, just chunk away one by one at them. Know that realistically you're not going to be able to change the aspect of the job overnight.
Yeah.
Or what do the most people hate? Right. That is also the least helpful in performing the task.
Yeah. And then the final step is to meet with those staff again to get their opinions on how the changes change their job performance and if it's better or worse. Yeah. So if you follow TEMP, you will be able to figure out the undesirable tasks, modify them if necessary, and then follow up with your staff. And I know that I've been part of this TEMP protocol in one way or another in my, past employment places. And I really appreciated it, actually, because I felt like I was being heard. Right? So I said, hey, I don't like this. You did something about it. And now you're asking me if it's okay. I love that.
Yeah. It's nice, too, because it allows the supervisor to not necessarily be associated with whatever the horrible thing is. I want to change that as a supervisor. I want us to be having a good time. And I'd like to hear your ideas is such a good way to keep that sort of us versus them mentality of supervisor, supervisee, where it's like, sorry, those are the rules. That's the policy. You have to do these horrible things. I don't care that you don't like them. If you don't like it, get a new job. I mean, how many of us have worked in this field long enough? Have you ever worked at a place where there wasn't an opening every single day of the job you were in?
Yeah, that's so true. One thing about those, if you are a supervisor and you have to say, sorry, this is something we can't change, you actually have to fill out the daily behavior data. Sorry. It's required by the government. Maybe not the government, but the state. It's required. So one thing you can do is simplify it. Maybe cut down on the amount of data you're collecting. Or maybe you can vary who's responsible for it on any given day. So if you have a highly undesirable work task, don't make one staff person responsible for it all the time. That's another suggestion that they give is, make a calendar and say, okay, look, everybody's got to do this one task one time, even though it's so horrible. Look, now one person isn't stuck with it. Yeah. I love that too.
And then that makes it fair because you can see it written out.
And you want to make sure, again, that we're providing the rationale for all the tasks that you have staff do. And if there is no rationale for why you're doing it, stop. Stop doing that task.
It's funny. I bet everyone,
just stop.
If you tomorrow go into work and think about, 10 things that you've done at your job, I bet at least one of them, when you ask yourself, why do we do this? You'll say, I don't know.
It's true.
And I bet everyone hates that one too.
I supervise practicum students, and frequently I am the terminal place where people will come to complain about practicum and their, job responsibilities. And I'm like, well, why are you doing that? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, why didn't you ask? And they're like, well, I can. I was like, yep, you should ask. And then they come back, and then they're like, oh, now I don't feel so bad about doing it anymore because they had a reason. Or they say, oh, yeah, I have no idea why we're doing that. Let's stop.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No one hates doing something more than doing a dumb task that you have no idea why.
Yeah.
That is the worst task.
absurd and futile.
Mm-hmm. If you can't answer why, then yeah, it's never. I've never had anything where I don't really know why, but you have to do it. There's no cosmic mystery to some of the aspects of your job. We're like, oh, we must continue doing this, or something terrible will happen.
Yeah.
What are the numbers that you have to put into the 4, 16, 24?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, I used to know them.
But there was a reason
4,
for
8,
that.
15, 16.
Viewers, write in.
23, 42.
Tell us about your favorite Lost episode.
I think that might be right.
I never watched it.
Well, you had to keep pressing in those numbers on the button, or the island might explode.
Would happen.
Might explode.
Something would happen.
The final thing that you want to take into account, you like how I just completely glossed over.
Like, anyway.
You don't talk about Lost
Anyway,
anymore?
guys,
What?
that's so obvious.
That island has so many secrets.
So many secrets.
Is if you have a staff that's worried about a specific task because they're worried that they're going to be hurt by the consumer or the consumer is going to be hurt, that is really one of the first tasks that you should be looking at and seeing if there can be any modifications, because that I have been in that situation before where I was working with a student that was far bigger than I was and for some reason did not like me because of my voice. My students hear this hear it all the time. He had like 0 rates of aggression until he worked with me. And then he was like higher than he'd ever been in like 5 or 6 years. And they did a scatter plot and it's like everyone else is 0 and it's Jackie and it's like 100.
So would you say that you elicited?
Maybe. Maybe. You never know, right? In that instance, it was pretty bad. And his aggression was fairly intense. So I had like 2 concussions in like two months.
When you said, this is the thing I hate most about this job are all these concussions, where they're like, you know what? Why would we keep doing this to everyone involved?
Right. And
Go
so
work with another student.
we got to the bottom of it, that it was my voice. And so when I did work with him, because I still had to work with him, I had to talk like this. I had to talk like in a lower voice. And that solved the problem. Yeah. Yep. After a while, I had to like go in there and talk in this lower voice for a little bit so that he didn't instantly see me and then come like attacking my face. But yeah, it was just me. Just my presence. But anyway, so that happened to me. I was very concerned. I did not want to come to work. I was like dreading it. I would cry. And I went to my supervisor. I did not cry with my supervisor though. I would cry at home. And I was like, I'm very nervous because I'm getting targeted. If you look at the data, it's not looking good for me. And so then they actively worked on making modifications. We figured out what it was. Just me. Yeah. So I think...
I'm glad you got that sorted out.
Me too.
And that you had a very responsive supervisor.
I did. Yes. I've had many great supervisors. And I also keep a supervisor book. Don't know if you guys do this, but it's all the things that I found previous supervisors do that I love.
Oh, that's nice.
I keep it on a list so that when I'm having a rough supervising time, I look and like, these are the qualities I want to have as a supervisor. And then I have another list in the same book these are the things I do not want to do. And they're the qualities that some of my supervisors have displayed at some points that I don't want to be as a supervisor. I mean, we're all there at some point, but if I look at it, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't want to be that person.
Nice.
I want to be this supervisor. And I find that really helpful, and I keep it on my desk so I can just pull it out and read it if I'm having a troubling supervising issue.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
It really helps me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should make it like a big dream board on your wall.
Well, then people would see it. I don't really want people to see it.
You don't want to like scrapbook it up
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, no, because I don't want to be like, hold on, supervisee. Yes, I'm having a troubling time right now. Let me look at my dream board. I really want to prescribe to number 3, not number 2 on the no list.
You know, Jackie, it would be a great way to demonstrate to your supervisees supervision is a skill.
I show them the book.
Oh, okay. They know it exists?
They know it exists. I've shown them. I recommend that they do one for themselves when they become supervisors, but I don't want them to actively be looking at it when I'm providing supervision. And being like, uh-oh, right now, Jackie, you're doing a no number 4.
Yeah. You don't need that kind of feedback.
No.
No.
Not yet, anyway. Maybe.
No.
Maybe I do.
And it's not necessarily a list of these are the things that you have to do for
Right.
supervision so much as
Yeah.
I liked these components
Right.
or these ideas that reflect. Yeah.
Yeah. And no, I think another thing too is you are going to screw up when you're supervising. You are going to screw up, right?
Yep.
Like
Sure.
in a moment, you're going to say something you don't mean. You're going to maybe call someone out when you did. I've done this so many times. Call someone out when you're like, ooh, I should have pulled them aside. And I think the best step is to recognize that you've done that and make steps to correct it. So that also shows your supervisee that you are learning too.
Yeah.
So it's a process. We're all part of it together. And I think that's a really important piece to take home that I'm actively working on in my own supervision life.
Yeah. Supervision is not easy. Even if you have all these rules in front of you on a set of note cards, there are lots of components and there are lots of advantages and disadvantages and times that even though you're following evidence-based protocol, it just does not work. And I know one of the things that we ran out of time for, because we're coming to the end of our Supervision September, and we really thought we were going to be able to cram the whole book into 3 episodes, and no, I don't know why we thought that, because there's a lot.
Yep, no, we did not meet our goal.
So we're at the point where we really focused on getting people to understand what the job is, getting your supervisees, I should say, to know what the job is, how to train your supervisees using an evidence-based protocol, training them to competence, and then monitoring their skills, and then giving feedback, and then how you can use that feedback to make work a fun place. What we're not going to get into are some of the common supervision problems that will occur. Some of it because we don't have enough time on the episodes, and some of it because a lot of the solutions really are follow the steps that we've already talked about. If all your staff know what they're supposed to do, if you're making an active effort to monitor them doing what they're supposed to be doing and praising them for what they're supposed to be doing, and you have some systems in place to give them more than just the occasional feedback, like whether it's events, whether it's your lottery systems, whether it's just you frequently giving lots of positive feedback, you're going to avoid so many of the big supervising issues like, oh, I have to deal with the staff who is terrible and they can't seem to get better. Oh, why won't anyone ever come to work? I think those are some of the big sections. And you know, we want to come back and look at this book again probably when we have some more time outside of September, because once September's over, you can't talk about supervision because the month does not have an S in it anymore. It's just how it goes. I'm sorry. But we do want to kind of come back and maybe beef that up with some other supervising research. But for now, if you do what we've talked about and you do what's in Reid, Parsons, and Green, you will find so many of the problems that you felt like, how do I deal with this? They vanish. They go away because you have set up a workforce that likes you, that sees your presence and your feedback as helpful and positive, and more will enjoy the work they do because they know you're making an active effort as a supervisor to make sure they are happy and that they are doing the best work they can and that you are providing a superior product. And so I guess that's it. I summed it up. Well, why don't we really quickly, if you could both sum up, because we don't have a dissemination station, which would sound like this if we did have one. No, I was stuck between those two dissemination station trains, and now I'm dead. Because we're not going to really summarize how to implement these findings, because we just talked about implementing findings for the past hour plus. But if you guys could both summarize our sections from today for our listeners.
Supervision is a behavior that you must engage in. It is an organic, ongoing, evolving process between you and your staff, and you're not going to get it right every time, but by being fully engaged, exhibiting a lot of supervisory behavior, like meeting with your staff individually, developing these protocols and checklists, following through by soliciting from them what's going well and what's not going well, and building in a lot of opportunities to provide reinforcement for appropriate behavior, you're going to get pretty far with your staff. And then you'll be able to address the smaller problems that come up as they do. And again, the 7 steps for feedback were provide an introductory empathetic statement, specify what behavior the staff has performed correctly, specify what behavior the staff has performed incorrectly, develop a plan together of what to do next if there were behaviors that were performed incorrectly, solicit questions from the staff, inform them about what's going to happen next, and then end your meeting again with an empathetic statement.
Cool.
Yeah.
So my little take-home point is that if there are tasks that no one likes to do at your job, try really hard to figure out what those tasks are, figure out if you need them to be happening, and if you don't, take them out. And then you want to make sure that you are training your staff appropriately to engage in those tasks and separating out the responsibility of disliked tasks if you have to do them. Yeah. And as a plug, if you want to continue reading about supervision, there was a new article just out in the Behavior Analyst. It's really 2016, so not like real, but it was not real like new because it's 17 now, but pretty new.
True. Mm-hmm.
It's like winter shoes and it's spring, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it was by Sellers, Valentino, and LeBlanc, and it is entitled "Recommended Practices for Individual Supervision of Aspiring Behavior Analysts."
Oh yeah.
In the Behavior Analysis and Practice Journal, 2016.
Oh, I think I read that.
Yeah, it's very
good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you need more fun articles to read, I would recommend reading that one.
And the rest of the Supervisors Guidebook.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yes,
you guys should pick that up.
We won't have time to talk about it. You should definitely read it yourselves. And maybe we'll come back around to it someday. All right. Well, if you've been listening to this for CEs, specifically Supervision CEs, you'll need our second secret code word when you apply on the website. And that is Marine, M-A-R-I-N-E, like animals that live in the ocean, or one of the branches of the United States Armed Forces, or a member of said group, Marine. Well, Diana, Jackie, that brings us to the end of our Supervision series, our Supervision September. To remember.
Come back for Ocular Octobers. Just kidding.
Yeah. No themes next month.
I don't know.
We're going to go back to regular episodes where we talk about recent research articles on a theme. But we had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for joining in and reading the book with me. And I think you'd already read it, but reading it again with me, because it was new
fun.
to me, and
It's
talking about these topics.
Mm-hmm.
I love supervision, and I love being better at it than I hope I'm better at it. I talked about it. We all talked about it long enough. We're hopefully better supervisors than when we started these podcasts.
You got to do, though. You can't just talk.
I know.
You got to go practice.
That's true. So go out and practice what you learned from the show and from all your other supervision training. So if you were interested in applying for Supervision CEs, well, you can certainly do that on our website. You can go to abainsidetrack.com and click on Get CEUs at the top. It's also a link in the info section of our pages. And if you have listened to all 3 of our episodes and say, good doggone it, I loved all these, I want to get CEs on this topic, just bunch them all together, we will have that option available after this episode posts. We will have that option available in our store where you can bundle it, and there's a little bit of a discount. So if you do want to get 3 CEs, we thought we should pass the savings on to you, the listener, the great listener. That's all we got for supervision. It was a lot of fun. Jackie, Diana, thank you so very much. Everyone listening.
Rob.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you. Everyone
No,
listening.
thank you.
Well, thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
and
you.
And you, and you.
Thanks, listeners.
You can find us online.
Thanks, America.
Thanks, Iceland. Thanks, Denmark. We could keep going. Thanks, Australia.
There you go. You can find us online at abainsidetrack.com. You can find us on Facebook and on Twitter, where we've been
Rob
posting
hates
some.
us.
I
Thanks,
don't hate you guys. I just got to get through the plugs. You can find us online at all those places. If you go to Facebook, we've been posting lots of stuff. We even have some fun supervision videos, courtesy of some clips from Office Space, which I hope you enjoy. I added some special effects to the last one.
It's
We added
great.
some flair.
Yeah, I added some flair.
Flair.
Oh. Anything? Oh, and you can email us, abainsidetrack@gmail.com. If you liked our show, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts. And hey, people have been leaving us some nice reviews on the Facebook page, which was a thing Diana found that you could do. So thank you so much if you've done that. But you can feel free to leave us a review or comment on the website.
Visitor posts. I love them.
Visitor posts on
Meme me up.
Facebook. You can anywhere you like. Anywhere you can
Meme
give
me up.
us feedback as to how you think we are doing. And if it's great, that's great. If it's constructive, that's great too. If it's mean, that's not quite as helpful. And you should have listened closer to this episode as to how to give feedback appropriately. So that makes you look like a fool. Sorry.
Top that.
All right, we'll be back next week with another
in
full-length
October
episode in October. But until then, keep responding. Bye.
Woo!
It's not October yet.
Oh.
Not yet. Save it for later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.